Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Fireside Chat. I don't know. Sorry about the delays, folks. I'm your host, Richard. Joining me, as always, co-host Jack. How are we doing, Jack?
I was expecting it to be a victory Monday on a Wednesday, but I think the second half of that game did not really go according to plan. So here we are talking about what's going to be a draw, essentially, against a kind of a bottom feeder. So not what we were hoping for.
Yeah, this is more of a technical difficulties on a Wednesday type of podcast here. But yeah, it's one of those things where heading into this last game, we were looking for a hero. Edin Džeko answered the call, and then after the weekend, we realized that a dime is not going to save us from not being able to defend our house with a 2-2 draw against Dresden that more felt like a 5-0 loss the way that second half ended up. Not at all what we expected in the game. This game had everything, though. And before we get to it, because I want to kind of turn to talking points in chronological order, just go through the game like that with the talking points. But the first talking point, I guess, should be the lineups in this one. This was where we saw Edin Džeko would get his first start. Behind him, you had Miron Muslic with Gomis and Karaman. Behind them, you had Schallenberg and El Fauzi, with Becker on the right, Katic, Ayhan, and Ndaye. So a couple things from this lineup, Jack. We go with a four in the back officially. Ndaye gets his debut or his first start. Ljubicic gets another start, and Džeko gets his first start. Thoughts on how the starting 11 came out?
I mean, not surprised that we're seeing, at least for another week, kind of a cementing of the shape change that we saw last week for the first time. Kind of going to that back four. Pleased that Ndaye is going right into the starting lineup. I mean, we brought him in for a reason. We need him in the absence of Vitaly Becker, very badly. I like that Ljubicic is getting another opportunity right off the bat. It's Edin Džeko's first start. That's obviously going to be the primary headline. But the other thing of note, I think, was Timo Becker once again at right back, and I think we can talk about how he's progressing because we were a little bit critical of him last weekend. I'm interested to see what your thoughts were on how his performance was in this past one.
Yeah, this was one of my talking points for sure in the game, and I guess we can kind of kick things off with that because, yeah, one of the experiments obviously was the back four, but one of the things we talked about last week was that whole Timo Becker versus Mertcan Ayhan, not Can Ayhan, and we both had said like Ayhan should start over Becker when it's either or. But I think we both felt, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Ayhan looks better on the right-hand side, and Becker's more of a center-back type player, because he doesn't have the pace anymore. He still's got the vision or the awareness, I guess, but he doesn't have necessarily the pace. Where Ayhan has that pace, and he's looked pretty decent on that right-hand side. Is that how you felt, at least looking at this lineup?
I think that's part of it. I think also as we watch this game, I think Becker just looked gassed too. Like he wasn't fit for a full 90. And so I think as the match went on, it became less and less, effective on the defensive end.
He did. And now it wasn't to the extent where you had Holtmann last week just torching him left and right, but it's still, you can see he was gassed. He didn't have the pace. It seemed like it was certainly still a weakness. And Ayhan did okay in this game, but I think I still, going forward, would prefer him on the right-hand side. And I think while I am still a little bitter about Kuruçay and his performances 2 weeks ago, he's probably an improvement over Becker at center back. So if I'm looking at if you're going to go back four going forward, I would say right back you put Ayhan, center back Katic, and Kuruçay. Left back you have Ndaye, at least until Becker comes back, which I don't know if he is going to come back. But what do you think about that?
I don't know. I also feel like at some point you have to give Sanchez a shot at center back. I know he's been playing. Yeah. I know he's been playing on the sides as well, kind of more like on the edges rather than right in the center. But I mean, he was brought in as a center back. He's been around for a while. He's gotten some matches at this point. I think like if we're down people and we're switching and we're experimenting for that that central chain of two, I think we need to at least give him an opportunity to see what he looks like in that shape. But
yeah. No, that's a fair shot. I'm curious. When he's come in this year, he's looked decent. He really has. And obviously, we know that Kalish is now warming up. Not that I necessarily want him. There's plenty of options, I think, before him. But yeah, I don't know if this. I think I'm ready to pump the brakes on Timo Becker just for a little bit at least. I still think the world of him, but he seems gassed at the moment. Maybe he just needs some rest. I don't know. But we got, I think, some options there, and I think we should try before we put Becker back in starting 11.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's partially too that, like, once again, this was a Dresden team that's not playing well this season overall, and that we were expecting to look better against, and he didn't look good in this game either. So I mean, it's like kind of against that bad of an opponent, I was disappointed to see that too.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the second talking point, which was the first half. We're playing a team, like you just said, team at the bottom of the table. They're, what, 16th, 17th in the league table, and not playing particularly well. Could they score goals? Sure, but they gave up a boatload of goals. And so you even said it last week, I expect us to score some goals this week. Otherwise, we're going to be really, questioning on our attack. And that first half, even though we had Edin Džeko in there, we had Ljubicic in there, we had Ndiaye inserted into there, there was a struggle in that first half. And everything we saw from Džeko coming off the bench previously, I didn't really see in that first half. It just seemed like Dresden were cranking things out. They were matching our intensity, if not better in it. And so we had no answers, and we were absolutely playing down to their level versus trying to force them to race to our level.
No, yeah, I agree. I think the two halves were obviously very different, not just in terms of the goal output for 4-1 and 0 in the other, but yeah, in terms of how we're looking. I need to go back and watch it again, honestly, to see kind of what that is. My sense was that a lot of times, at least I feel like Džeko in the second half of games when he's come on has been dropping deeper a little bit to kind of kickstart some of these. But it's like he's the target man coming short with some other people, and then there's things that are happening off of that. And it felt like, at least at the start of this game, that he was sitting higher up more often. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to go back. And
no, he did.
Accurate,
you're right.
But,
you're right.
I think maybe that was part of it too. But yeah.
Yeah, I sensed that too. He was there a lot, leading the line on the press, and he was very much high. Wasn't dropping back like you said, as he did in the second half, especially for other appearances. Eric and Joseph and Anthony, see you there in Czech. Glugauf. Yeah, so the first half was a big struggle. Ended up 0-0. Nothing super threatening from us that I felt in that first half. There were maybe a couple chances here and there, but ultimately 0-0 first half. Pretty disappointed. And then this game felt like three halves, really did, because the first half, performance 0-0, looked like a shell of what we were hoping to see. I think we all had high very optimistic, a lot of high hope that with Džeko on starting 11, at least we'd kick off something. Didn't have that. And I was questioning whether Ljubicic and Ndiaye, some of these other guys, could all work together. But then we had the second half. And the Sarajevo Diamond, Džeko kind of emerged and proves that he's still a world-class player. And I think the way, some of these new insertions we saw, Aušiše came in for Gomis, I believe it was, or I forget who came on for. Ljubicic kind of moved over to the right-hand side, Carmen stayed in the middle. And what we saw in the first goal, play with the ball, Carmen kind of gets the ball, and Ljubicic kind of takes away from him, runs up the pitch, feeds it to the left to Aušiše, and he quickly crosses over in the back. And you see Džeko's calling for it. Nobody sees him. He gets it, one-time volley, sensational finish there by the world-class player. That's what we came to see. That's what we were hoping for. And I think the goal was beautiful as it was. I was also impressed by the new people, Ljubicic and Aušiše, and their contributions and how they were able to kickstart that counterattack so quickly. Thoughts on that first goal?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the feel-good moment of the match, was that we had a goal that was, both the goal, the assist, and the pass to the assist, or the hockey assist, as we say in America, were all, new winter signings in January. Ljubicic, Aušiše, and Džeko. I liked what I saw from Ljubicic on that play as well. Obviously, as you said, Karaman kind of had like this weird challenge in the middle of the field, and he got by his defender, and then Ljubicic was running with steam and just kind of took it away from him. But he ran into space and then played a really well weighted ball out to space to Aušiše, and then he likewise, didn't hesitate and played it back across to Džeko, and just really good finish. I mean, what are you gonna say? It's class, and it pops off the screen when you see it. You know what I mean? It's what we started about with Tirada. Like they're just, it's just like different. The presence in front of goal. So anyway, love to see that. That's great. He gets his goal from the starting position now, and not just in terms of his super sub role. So that was good to see before he gets subbed off.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's in the 52nd minute. Love seeing every bit of that. And it seems like every year we have a player that we're going to struggle to figure out how to say their name. This year seems to be Alfiche. It's going to be the guy. But regardless, 1-0 lead, looking pretty good. And I think we continued on. It seemed like a different team with the insertions at halftime with some new bodies in there. The attack looked reinvigorated. This is like, okay, this is what we're looking for with these new signings and with Džeko playing. We were hoping to see that in the first half. Didn't really see it. Maybe it's Alfiche and a couple other guys that came on. I don't know. But nonetheless, we're continuing on. And then about 70th minute or so, another play where we're pressing. All of a sudden, we're starting to press again, causing turnovers. The goalkeeper makes an errant pass. Schallenberg intercepts it, heads it directly to Ljubicic. Ljubicic quickly is to El Fawzi. El Fawzi quickly is it to Džeko, who's at the top of the box. And again, world-class strike from outside the box, placed it well, hard shot, low corner, past the keeper. Worth the price of admission. He becomes the oldest player to score a brace in the Zweite Liga. We were all jumping. We were in ecstasy when that goal came in, Jack. 2-0.
I mean, once again, it's outside the box. He just makes the decision early, pulls the trigger, hits it with confidence, and it's a great. I mean, where does that come from? You know what I mean? We just don't have that in the team normally. So, and shout out once again. I think it was El Fawzi and then also Ljubicic with the hockey assist on both of those. So he was involved in both goals. Once again, I think he kind of drifts a little bit and sleepwalks through the match at times, but I'll give him a pass in this one because he was involved in both of those. But yeah, I need to keep a closer eye on him in the next one because I feel like we're not talking about him enough throughout the 90 minutes, in my opinion, but that could just be me. I could have some sort of weird bias there. So, but yeah, I mean, brilliant to see Džeko kind of break another record kind of in that sense, get the brace, and another ridiculous finish. And at that point, 2-0 at home against the, bottom feeders. And that's what we were expecting and wanting.
Couple of things, right, with this talking point where Džeko scores his third goal in a game and a half. How many goals did Silla have in the first half of the season? 4 goals. So he's pretty much matched Silla's output already. That's one thing. And then the second thing was it's kind of like when you're playing in FIFA, the video game, and you're ready to sub off a player, and all of a sudden that player scores a goal. You had Silla already warming up. They're getting ready to switch Džeko out, and all of a sudden he goes and scores a goal right before it comes out. So it was nice to see him go out there with 2 goals instead of 1 goal, and Silla comes on. I was fine with Silla coming on. We had talked about a couple options which you could have with either Silla starting and Džeko coming off the bench, or Džeko starting and Silla coming off the bench. I was happy to see that Džeko got 71 minutes or 70 minutes, so that's a good sign that he can at least go that far. And then Silla came on. I thought that was a good switch. I think at that point of the game, did you feel the same way?
Yeah, 100%. Look, if Lasma isn't available, for example, it's Silla. I'm still gonna give Silla those opportunities and everything. And yeah, Gomez was off the pitch at that point. Obviously, he got subbed out earlier in the second half, but yeah, fine with that. And I was glad to see Silla kind of get right back in there after the transfer fell through.
And then the third half started, and I'm not gonna blame this on Kuruçay, but it kind of kicks off with Kuruçay coming into the match in the 75th minute. And at that point, every team in the world will say this: when you have a 2-0 lead, it's the most dangerous lead in soccer, football. And I just wanted to see us score another third goal. And I think at that point, people were feeling comfortable in the Discord. And I was like, I'm not comfortable yet because they score a goal. It'll get a little dicey there. And sure enough, off of I don't even know what this play was. I think that guy Kuchka blew by Timo Becker, didn't he? He blew by Timo Becker, crosses into the box.
I watched that a couple times. There's an argument to be made that it's not necessarily his guy to chase, and also El Fawzi made 0 attempt and was kind of walking around towards running, kind of walking away from the play at the top of the box while Becker's trying to get back over to him on the end line. So, yeah, you could say that Becker got smoked, looked absolutely exhausted, and didn't get there on time. But there's one or two other players in the area that also made zero attempt to help him out. So I'll give him kind of a pass, but not really.
And this next guy, the guy who scores the own goal, Kuruçay, part of me wants to be like, you weren't doing anything on the play either. But another part is like, sometimes you can't help when a ball hits you. I didn't like the way he was turned around with his back to the shot like that. But again, those plays happen where a ball gets beamed into the box and it just hits off you and goes in the net. So I mixed up on that play because I part of me wants to blame Kuruçay. The other part of me is like, I get it because I played soccer. I understand. How'd you feel on that goal and that went in?
There was a Dresden player that was coming in that I think that ball was supposed to be going to, and Kuruçay was expecting that guy to make contact with it, and it snuck past him and then just like hit Kuruçay and bounced in. So yeah, it's a bad play. He had just come on the pitch. You feel bad for him. He was a huge part of our season early. Injured, unavailable recently.
Yeah,
could certainly use his help given how our defenses looked. Bad way for him to get reintegrated, but I'll give him a pass for that one. It's a kind of a freak play.
He's just had a bad couple of weeks where obviously he got suspended due to yellow card accumulation. Comes back and has a really bad game 2 games ago, and then this game comes in and own goal right off the bat off of him. So it's not really ideal. I still would want to see him in the starting 11 for sure as a center back, but not the best way to start. And at that point, I was like, shoot, we need another goal because I don't feel comfortable with this 2-1 lead. As good as this defense has been throughout the season, as you pointed out many times, like the last 7-8 games, it's not been the same defense. And so we've been leaking goals, and sure enough, they kept coming, and finally in the 87th minute, I don't remember if it was Thomas Keller who scored, but well, first of all, they get a corner kick, ball goes into the box, and Karius makes his blunder. I mean, he whiffs completely on the ball, and then everyone in there is standing around. Sure, they expected him to make the save, but Keller just with easy tap-in, or Keller was an easy tap-in, and it goes in the goal. 2-2, and it's like, there we go, man. Thoughts on that whole calamitous play? Because it was a meltdown for like 10 minutes. We were fine until those last 10, 15 minutes of the game and just pissed it away.
I may get crucified for this, so I'm aware that this band okay. When I saw that play initially, I thought 2 things. I thought, one, if Karius is coming out for that, he's got to get there, and he doesn't. 2, it's not a good look that after the initial contact, there could be 2 or 3 Dresden players inside of our nearest defender, all with an opportunity for like a free header on goal, and there's no Schalke players there. So I don't know what happened with like that, but there's a weird overcommitment or something along those lines. Rewatching that play, however, the second that ball gets kicked, once that ball is in the air, Amoaku runs to Karius and boxes him out. Like doesn't stand in front of him, literally initiates contact and like arm bars him for a second and keeps him from moving and delays him in getting out to get towards that ball. In my opinion, that should have been I think the goal should have been disallowed. You may say that's like a super weak call in my opinion. There wasn't a lot of contact, maybe it's not totally deserving of that. In my opinion, like that's a ball that Karius could have gotten to, and he was like slightly impeded and delayed by a guy, not just like taking up position in front of him, but deliberately initiating contact with an arm and kind of holding him back. And if you watch some of the replays, you'll see Karius is trying to kind of like fight through him before, and he, loses a half a step, and that's all the difference was in the play. And the officials were clearly looking at something because there was a delay before that got restarted. I'm assuming that's what they were looking at, and they decided not to call it, but he didn't even go to VAR to like look on the monitor in terms of like the ref actually going. It's like, I don't know. I find potentially like 2 weeks in a row, there's some weird referee stuff going on, or whenever that last game was that had some other crazy stuff. But so in retrospect, I actually give Karius more of a pass than I did initially. And I would be interested to see what you think if you go back and watch that replay, because you might completely disagree with me.
I'm curious now because, I didn't bother looking at it because I was just so pissed off at what happened in the game. But he was going to be one of my scapegoats as Karius because, yes, in my opinion, a goalkeeper should come out and get it. A goalkeeper should be the bully in that situation and knock the hell out of everybody in that box and get to that ball, a la Oliver Kahn or something like that, right? But we didn't see that, and so that's why I was like, Karius is completely to blame. And to your point just before that, where like all the defenders are just sitting around and just all trusted players with a free header opportunity. But I will go back and look at it because I'm curious now. Because if that's the case, that would be 2 weeks in a row where you have some shady refereeing that kind of majorly impacts our game. And I don't know. I didn't watch the press conference after the game to see if Moose had said anything to that effect. But yeah, I'm curious now. Now I will go back and watch it. I kind of want to go back to watch the game to watch some of these players like Ljubicic and Aučić and some of those guys. So yeah, I'll definitely take a look and I'll let you know how that comes out, because I was already, like I said, to give Karius a lashing, if you will. And it's not to say my feelings of Karius have changed just because of this one goal. No, Karius has bailed us out numerous times this year, and so everyone's allowed a oops. But if he was impeded in an attempt to make that save, maybe you should have dove a little bit harder or something. Like Katic. Katic is known just to dive around sometimes. Granted, he got hurt in this game; he was busted up. But yeah, that would be unfortunate if that was the case. And I wouldn't hold it against the team if that's actually what happened. For a second week in a row, because we saw that the week before. We complained about that. So curious take, and I definitely want to go check it out. And if anyone in the chat or listening or watching later on has a take on that, let us know, because I'm curious about hearing your takes on that as too. So very curious, Jack. Nice shout out there. And I guess after the game, 2-2. That's now 5 games, 0 wins, with 3 games in the second half of the season, 0 wins. I don't want to say crisis, but I mean, this is not the same defense. It's not. We've lost the confidence defensively. Granted, the offense looked a little bit better, a lot better, but defensively, I don't know. Jack.
Yeah, I mean, so the one thing I'll say is I think defensively overall we looked good or decent in this game. It's mostly that we just conceded 2 pretty shitty, weird, broken goals. Still, we've had seasons where most of the goals we concede seem to be weird, shitty, broken goals. So if you have enough of them, it's still bad defense. You know what I mean? You can't just kind of like chalk those off as like weird stuff. I'm willing to kind of excuse that a little bit for this isolated game. Because I mean, if you look, like, it's not like Dresden broke us down really all that often. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh wow, this is a bad team that really kind of like outclassed us. They scored some scrappy goals. Credit to them. One's a set piece. One's a weird thing. Like I don't know. So I'm not in panic mode there. But yeah, I mean, like, we're conceding multiple goals a game now consistently, which is very much not what we were doing early. And we talked about, like, we were assuming that was going to be close to how we were playing for the rest of the season, that there's probably going to be some regression the second half of the season, but we're not going to go from being the best defense in the league to, like lower mid-table or something like that. You know what I mean? We'll go from like the best defense in the league to like the 5th best defense in the second half of the season, or the 7th best defense in the second half of the season, or something like that. We're still like a solid defensive unit. That has not been happening, and that's concerning. That being said, Džeko once again, unbelievable. Aučić coming off the bench in the second half added another whole dimension to our attack, I thought, with wide delivery. Now, a lot of that was him stopping and getting the ball on his right foot to play it in. And so I'm interested to see what he can do, in rhythm on his left foot more, if he's kind of one-dimensional in terms of like what that is. But regardless, it worked. He had a nice through ball kind of where he hesitated through traffic, played a through ball to Muslic, that Muslic obviously, I mean, arguably should have put away. And didn't at one point. It was probably his best opportunity the second half. He kind of like hesitated a little bit too much and ended up shooting it kind of right into the keeper. Wasn't able to kind of chip it high enough over the keeper coming out. But that was I thought that was one of a number of moments of good service from Aučić, which we haven't had a lot of this season. Likewise, Njaye, who not all of his balls were accurate, but I thought we saw a left-footed delivery dimension from him as well in the final third, which we were saying a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know why this guy's name is escaping me. Who is the former player we had for the last couple of seasons that was like a great left foot delivery, who played left back and left mid?
Leon?
No. This is so embarrassing that I do not remember this guy's name. He's literally like multiple seasons. Anyway, regardless, but like his best quality was his left foot essentially, and I feel like we criticized him defensively at times, but he had an offensive dimension. And like since he's been gone, we haven't had that on the left side of the pitch. Like Becker's done some things in the final third.
You're not talking about Toby Moore, are you?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about Tobias Moore.
Okay.
Sorry. So Tobias Moore, like a number like set pieces and also like crosses and stuff like we haven't had that kind of delivery angle like since he's left, honestly, because Becker hasn't done that. Becker's more taking people on the dribble and shooting than he is like a lot of the other stuff. So I thought Njaya showed glimpses of that as well in this. So I think those two things adding some dimension. Now I'm still worried about our right side because Gomes is once again just not a factor at all. And Becker was bad. So I mean, like in the other options, there are sometimes like Valentovich or Porat, who like, none of these guys seem to be like people who really want to be starting all the time. They're all kind of like, give them 30 minutes in. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions there, but like, I do think we've bolstered the attack, and as long as we can rein in this defense and not be as bad as we have been the last 5 weeks, I still think we're okay. I'm not pulling the panic button or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love seeing the new guys because they made a good contribution. I'm right there with you with Aushishe. I think Ndiaye too. I agree with that. That he contributes a lot offensively. Defensively, still to be determined. Looked a little panicked in the defensive end, but if you have your normal defenders out there, whether it's Ayhan or in this case, or if you had Kuruçay in the future, I think he'll be fine because he'll be good to mask it as well. You have El Fauzi and Schallenberg roaming around there as well, which could help out too to help mask those deficiencies. But I think offensively, like you said, yes, I think it was good to have him there. And so those two plus Ljubicic in his couple moments where he's just floating along, and from what I've heard of him, that's kind of what he is, just like a player that floats along and can get by you all of a sudden. So I too, when I go back look at the tape to see how was he in the game, going in and out. It's funny that
XG chain.
Yeah, exactly. So, but going back to the defense, it's kind of like the old, to honor the guy who did make the Hall of Fame, Bill Belichick. He always talked about playing 60 minutes intense, never stop until the whistle blows. And that's kind of what we have to do with the 90 minutes, and we had been doing for the most part for the first, certainly first half of the season up till the last, just before the winter break. We have not done that where, to your point, we played pretty solid defense in this game, but we have those momentary blips where we just shut off, and that's when the goals happen. We saw in this game, saw the game against Bochum, we saw in Kaiserslautern, same thing, and other games before against Braunschweig, same thing. It's like where we play well for the most part of the game, and we switch off, and then they go and score these goals. Obviously, Bochum kind of tore us apart, but it's we got to get that intensity back. And Muslic told the guys before the second half started, like, you're gonna have to grind it out harder than we did in that first half for the rest of the season, the next 5 months. But we're not doing it. We're doing it for most of the game, not all of the game. We have to do it for the entire game. If that means you just got to substitute some guys out and bring in some fresh bodies so that everyone's on their game the entire time, so be it. I don't care if it's 70 minutes and you bring in 4 different defenders, whatever it takes to make sure these guys stay focused for the entire time. We got to figure something out because it's nice having an attack now a little bit here, and then granted it's a 1-game sample size or a game and a half, but we need to get back to what our bread and butter is, and that's defense. And if we can't stop anybody, it's going to be an interesting game. And our next opponent is Magdeburg, who, by the way, won their second game in a shootout against Greuther Fürth. They beat them, I think, 5-4 in the first game they played, and I think 6-5 this last game, or 5-4 in this game. So they're shootout. They can score goals. Magdeburg can. And by the way, they have Lindbergh, don't they? Is Lindbergh with them, or is he with Darmstadt? I forget. They got some good players at Magdeburg. As bad as they're performing, they can score goals. So we need to figure it out quick because before we know it, we're going to have another gauntlet coming down as we had at the end of the Hinrunde. We're going to have one again at the Rückrunde at some point. So we need to correct our deficiencies as soon as possible.
Magdeburg's got Zukowski as his top.
Oh, yeah.
But he's getting close to double digits at the moment, so hopefully he doesn't do that against us.
So thoughts on, I guess, our next opponent, Magdeburg, coming out. What do you want to see us do what are the keys for us to win in that game? And I say win. I'm tired of draws. I want to see a win.
I mean, for me, it's literally like do not concede more than a single goal. I don't know how we accomplish that, but I think Becker probably needs to take a seat, at least from the right back position. If you want to try him at center back, I'm open to that. But I do not think it's been convincing, and I think it's been unconvincing against not great opposition at times. So I think Becker needs a break. So I think that's one thing. I don't know if you want to put Sanchez in there or somebody else. I'm open to your thoughts on that. That's the main thing for me. Outside of that, I think I would also like to see probably Gomes not start if Silla's up for it. And I would like to see what we look like with probably the people that we think are like, our optimal best players, trying to find a way to put them in the starting 11 at the moment, because we are rotating the squad quite a bit at the moment with some new pieces. So I say, like, while we're in that integration phase, let's try some different combinations, see what sticks. But yeah, I think Aouchi's probably needs to be in the starting lineup at times, and we have options now. We have things that we can potentially make work. So, yeah, it's just the defensive end. We had 10 goals conceded the first half of the season.
Yeah, 10 goals.
Yeah, now 2.
Like 10 already.
Yeah, it's like six already in the second half, so not great.
As Joseph just rightly corrected us, yes, we play Kiel next, not Magdeburg. I don't know why I missed that game. Kiel are still a tough opponent, nonetheless. I think that's better for us, just considering how Magdeburg can score some goals. Kiel is still a tough opponent, no doubt about it. They're mid-table. I forget what. Are they 10th now? I forget what place they're at. I actually have
they're 12th, but I mean they have one of next to us, they're like one of the worst offenses in the league. So if we have issues against them defensively, all these are one-off matches, but it's not a good trend that we're having recently. So hopefully this is a get-right game for us. I was hoping Dresden was going to be a get-right game for us. It wasn't. We kind of need Kiel for that to be the case too, because it's another bottom half of the table opponent. Not quite the level of Dresden, but
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph, for correcting us. Yeah, I think I'm with you though. We can't give up more than a goal, especially a team that struggles scoring goals. I'd like to see it 0, but I mean, I'm not going to get too crazy here. And I like to see more of what we saw in the attack. Trying to decide whether I want Džeko to start or not. If he can go 70 minutes, then I'm fine with him starting. The question beckons. I think Gomes starting is nice because he has pace, but what we saw from Ljubicic, Aouchiche, Karaman, and Džeko, and you sprinkle in Yunus in there as well, that could be tasty. And so kick off the game with that possibly, Aouchiche instead of Gomes, and have Karaman in there, and Ljubicic, and see what they can do. And maybe they can cook up a goal there with Ndaye pushing up, and hopefully Ayhan on the right. I'm with you with Becker sitting in this one. If not at center back, I want to see Ayhan on the right-hand side. And yeah, if we can get an early goal, great. But I like to see us be much better defensively. Scoring goals will be obviously the key, but I want to see us actually play defense for once this second half of the season, and I mean for like the full 90. I don't mean like 70 minutes or whatever we played in this last game. That needs to improve a lot, and I think hopefully this Kiel game, to your point, is the get-right game, because the Dresden one certainly was not it. Hate playing down to our opponents, and hopefully don't play down this week again. All right. Before we get out of here, let's look at a couple quick news tidbits here. Looks like Adrian Gantenbein and Bachmann are back in full training. Good to see both of them back. Obviously, Gantenbein for the right-hand side, and then Bachmann for a little bit of depth there. After the game, you had Edin Džeko, though he scored a brace, he wasn't exactly happy with that, and I don't blame him. He says, when you're up 2-0 at home, you've got to be winning that game. I agree 100%. I mean, nobody's going to say opposite with him there. As we mentioned, Džeko is the oldest player to score brace in the Zweite Liga. It's every week he's going to be breaking that record as the oldest player to score in the Zweite Liga. And then lastly, that's Nerzo lastly. So that's all the news I got, Jack. Anything else you want to chat about before we get on out of here?
Nah, that'll do it for me.
Anthony says he agrees Džeko should start if he can play at least 70 minutes again. And Joseph says, yeah, we got to win. We got to win. That's for sure. All right. So, Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMANGAN, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. Our handles are right down here. More importantly, follow us at Schalke America all across social media. Make sure you share our videos and podcasts with your friends and spread the word that is Schalke. I want to give a shout out to the Discord, but in particularly Marie. So if you're in our Discord, go check out the logo she made for us. She was just messing around, and it looks pretty sick. Another Schalke America logo. So go check that out there, and we'll share it across on social media as well. But yeah, we'll catch you guys after the game. Game is on Sunday against Kiel, not Magdeburg. And then hopefully we have some good fortunes and some good news to change about. Maybe the fireside chat will be corrected and start on time next week. We'll see. All right, for Jack and myself, enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. It's a long holiday weekend here in the United States. Catch you guys soon. Look out.